We've been talking all this time and they have not even been hearing us on Facebook.
Oh man.
Ain't that something? I feel like we should start over. Oh my goodness. All right. I know we can't start over, but I do need you to go back to the part where I said, how did you get to the point in your life where you decided, yes, I'm going to put up my body on the line at all costs?
Okay, yeah. I said I think it was I need to move this.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Got tired of seeing move this. I'm
So
sorry. You're trying to give me cues and I'm like saying everything.
Okay. You gotta try to get it at the microphone from out of right in front of your face.
Okay, yeah. So I was just saying, I got tired of watching people die, and it's like what they meant for desensitization actually caused me to act. If that's a word, I just said it because it seemed right in the moment. Okay, yeah, but I just got so tired, and it was like, when you see us do something to each other, we go to jail, but you are literally seeing them on national TV killing people, and then we come back and then they be acquitted, or the district attorney would choose not to press charges. And it's like we see this repetitive cycle, and it's like some people get angry and act, some people get angry and it becomes a passive emotion. It brings about no action, no thought.
And I think that goes into what you were saying about you were sitting somewhere and they talked about how their job is to bring the highs and the lows. So we show you a tragedy and then we show you a dog playing
with kids,
with children. Yeah, and then so it's like, oh, look at the little dog. And so we don't sit in tragedies for long.
Right.
I think I wanted to say that again for those of you on Facebook because you missed that. We don't sit in tragedies for long, and that's when I brought up about emotions. And it's interesting because Phyllis Brown is the one that told us we didn't have any Facebook audio, and I just mentioned her saying that I had I was facilitating a conversation and I was asking people to let go of their anger. I was asking them to let go of whatever it is they need to let go of, but anger would be one of those things. And she stood up and pronounced that she was not going to let go of her anger. She was going to hold on to it. And so I was so interested in that. I was like fascinated by that. And that's kind of like that was really the catalyst for our relationship. And so when we think about this emotion of anger as Black women, they want to shame us by calling us the angry Black woman. Anytime we stand on business, as they say now, anytime we stand on business, then we are labeled as the angry Black woman, and that's somehow supposed to shame us and to silence us, right? Yeah. It's supposed to silence us. And so when we begin to worry about the white gaze, I was just having a conversation yesterday when I was saying that one of the things, if we're going to be free as Black folks, if we're going to be free, period, but I center Blackness all the time. If we're going to be free as Black folks, then we are going to have to divest from the white gaze. Stop seeing ourselves through their lens. If they call me angry, I do not care. If they call me good, I do not care. Don't matter to me. I don't live for your affirmation. I don't live for your validation. I don't live for your approval. I don't live for any of that. I am here to be who I was called to be into this world, the gift that I am to the world in all of its fullness. And so I don't need permission from you for that. I just need to be. And so I feel like until we get to that point where we no longer care. I remember John Lewis in the documentary, somebody asked him, why are you going out here getting your head busted every time you walk out the door and you still going out there? And he said, as soon as I decided that I was no longer afraid, I could keep going. It didn't bother me what lay ahead because I was no longer scared. If I die, I die, right? And so when we talk about putting our body on the line, that means that you might die. Any number of deaths, right? It might be a physical death. It might be a social death. It might be it's some kind of financial death. It might be an employment death. Some kind of way you're going to lose something. It's going to cost you. And so what do you have to say to us about being willing to pay the cost? Some of us, again, if we live in life through the white gaze, it's important to us to have a certain kind of house, a certain kind of car, send our children to a certain kind of school, have a certain amount of money in the bank, because that makes us successful. And if that is our goal, then we are not headed towards Black liberation necessarily.
Right. And so it just when you were just talking about the living under the white gaze. I think a lot, like you said, a lot of us are still living under the white gaze. So when you mention the angriness, the angry part and trying to silence us, I not only felt like it was white people doing it, because I expected white people to say, oh, you know, she's just allowed this and that. But it was also some black people, you know, people, they're in our community. I won't say they're part of my tribe. You know, there's a difference between community and tribe. I try to tell people, but I just feel like even they tried to silence me at times because it wasn't the right approach, or it wasn't, I should be more patient, I should be more politically correct in my message. And so for me, you know, you're battling that, and we have to keep, like you said, fighting the white gaze. Now I'm gonna go back to what you asked me. So what did you ask me again?
Okay.
I got caught up in that. I
It's
had
okay.
to hit on that
No
first.
worries, no worries. But before I'm not going to forget, but can you talk a little bit more about the difference between community and tribe?
Oh, okay. I would say we have our communities, and I I consider that to be most of the black community. Like, even if you don't have love for me 9 times out of 10, you know, I still got love for you. You might not do it for me, but a lot of times I'll do it for you. Or you might not like the work I do, but at some point in time you need help, I'm still gonna help you. I'm not gonna turn my back on you. That's like living in community. When I say my tribe, these people are more like, couldn't be, you know, if they were in, these are my picked family, like my picked family, like Osiris. I always talk about him all the time because that he is part of my tribe. He is not only my friend and my coworker, that's my brother. And like, when you say your brother, like, I would do anything for him, and I know he would do anything for me, and he defends me when I'm not around. Like, I would defend him if he wasn't around. So that's my tribe. I can call them, I know, at any time, and if they have it, they'll take care of me. We share meals together, we hang out together. So it's just a tribe. It's basically, in other sayings, it's basically associates versus friends, if you want to say that. But
I like the fact that you said it's picked. These are chosen people. So I think sometimes we get caught up with the word family, and we believe that just because we share a bloodline, then that means that we're part of the same tribe. And I don't think that's true at all. And I think sometimes we get caught up in that. Like, you know, we think just because a person is black, then that means they're part of our tribe, and that is not true. So when you're saying tribe, like, no, these are people that are tried and true. Like, we've been in a relationship, and we've seen the ups and downs and the ins and outs, and we've still been working it out together. And so this is my tribe. And so, okay, I appreciate you saying that. What I was asking you is about divesting from the white gaze, because I feel like in order for Black folks to truly be free, to truly be liberated, we've got to stop worrying about what white people think of us, how white people see us. And it's really interesting because how they see us is the lie that they've told themselves about what to see when they look at us, right? And so these false narratives, they prevail in this country, and we start to align ourselves with the false narrative, right? And so how do we? I was asking you, what would you say to us to help us say, no, that's not what I gotta stop worrying about that. Like, how do we get people there? Like, what are some steps you can take to say, look, you need to rethink, reframe yourself in this movement?
Well, it's definitely not short-term work, because, like you said, this is generations and years and decades of people, you know, like, falsely being made to align with the things they think of us and who we are. So conversations is always the start. You have to be willing to have those conversations with people, and people who you're having conversations with have to be receptive, at least a little bit, in order to want to move themselves away from the white gaze, because a lot of people are so comfortable. They're like, I have my money, I have my job, I have my family, we have good health care, and we go to an awesome church, I'm living the dream. So just because you're not doesn't mean that I should say something about it, that I should stop, quit my corporate job, you know, XYZ. So it's just like, it's a battle, and you have to be willing to put in the time. You have to be willing to build the relationships, have those conversations. The song, like, how can I give you my love if you can't really love yourself? Like, how can I give you what you need to break away from the white gaze if you aren't even willing to accept it? So it's a struggle.
Yeah, so we have a problem then. It sounds like what I hear you saying is that for some of us, we have a problem seeing ourselves for who we are when we look in the mirror and realizing that we need to do something different. And then even if we are able to say, I need to do something different, I'm not going to take that step because A, it's too much work.
Yeah.
And because B, it might cost me something.
Inconveniences.
I said it again.
Inconveniences.
Inconveniences. It might cost me something.
Right.
It might be inconvenient for me. It might make me look bad to not just white folks, but to my church, my family, my friends. Like, so we're so worried about other people's thoughts and feelings and emotions around us that we don't give ourselves the freedom to be ourselves. I did a talk not too long ago at University of Central Arkansas, and it was about the imposter syndrome. And one of the questions that I was asked during the Q&A was a young Black woman said, "You sound free, you look free. I want to know what that feels like. I want to know, how do you do that?" Like, she was, and you could tell this was a genuine question. Like, she was like, "What? Tell me what that feels like." She said, "How do you do that?" So I started answering the question, and one of the answers to the question is, whatever the cost I gotta pay, just tally it up, and hand me my bill. I'm gonna say what it is. I'm gonna do what it is. I'm gonna act on it. I'm gonna stand on it, and whatever it costs me, tally it up. Hand me my bill and I'll pay it. And I feel like when you get to that point, like John Lewis, where you're no longer worried, it don't, then that's how you get free. When you're no longer scared, you're no longer worried. But I do want to make sure that I'm clear on this. Now, I struggle with the fact that I do have a mortgage. So I can't run around here acting like money don't matter. Right? So that's not the point. Like, nobody's saying, oh, so no. I understand that I have to have money. I just want to see money as a vehicle. It's a vehicle to get what is needed for the community, for the tribe, for my family, for whomever. It's not for me to amass so I can say, look at me, I got enough money to buy whatever it is people feel like they need to buy. So here's a comment to you from Phyllis Brown. Dawn says, some Black people opposed her work. During the desegregation of Central High School, many Black people asked the parents of the 9 to withdraw the 9. Remember, there are many Tim Scotts. Again, Black people opposed not just your work, but in the desegregation of Central High School, Black people asked the parents of the 9 to withdraw the 9. Right. There are plenty of Tim Scotts. And then Hotep says this a lot, reminds us a lot. In Vogue, free your mind. And In Vogue says, and the rest will follow. But Hotep says, and your butt will follow. So it's about freeing your mind. And so talk to us a little bit about that, though, Dawn, when you said, I expect white people to oppose me. That's what they do.
Yeah, that's what they do.
But when it's us opposing us, when it's us opposing us, those of us who trying to free us, because you said it. Look, I'm trying to free you too. I know I'm doing the work, but the work is going to help you. So I'm out here trying to lift us all, and you opposing me as I try to help you. What does that feel like?
Well, just the realness of it all, being completely transparent. I mean, because, you know, that's who I am and what I do. A lot of times people see this persona of me, and because I'm in activism and because I work on the front line, they think, oh, she's so strong, she's so tough, she doesn't really have any feelings about stuff. But actually, it just like, it really hurts when I see my people do it. The white people, like I said, it's expected, but when it's your own people, the very people you're fighting for, you're like, dang, like, can't they see? It's like several times I would just say to myself, can't they see I'm just trying to help? So it's like my heart is always in the right place. I feel like I have made mistakes. I believe anyone in this line of work makes mistakes. Do they not get highlighted? Not all the time. So a lot of people think people in activism are led to be perfect, but that's not the way it is. So that's why when I have these conversations, I like to be transparent. But yeah, and you mentioned at the beginning sacrifices. Like, I'm willing to put my body on the line, I'm willing to sacrifice my time, but you also have to be willing to be in isolation sometimes, because I remember at one point I was so opinionated, um and not only being opinionated, but I guess voicing that on platforms. And some of my friends would be like, she crazy. And, some of the people that I thought were my friends, you have to deal with family and friends talking about you because you're viewed as radical and you're not in the typical, she's not going to just get in line and shut up type. So yeah, it's hard. You have to sacrifice those family and those friends sometimes. And some people even view what happened, the actions in 2020, as criminal behavior. But I say, when I was talking to my neighbor about it when I was taking him to work, I just asked him, I said, when people go fight for this country and they put their lives on the line, they get what? And they die, they often get a Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
But when we go put our lives and our bodies on the line for Black liberation, we're considered criminals. We're considered terrorists, lacking the mental capacity. We're either killed, we're jailed. So to me, black liberation is overall liberation. So when you tell me it, I don't view people like that as silly. I did it because it's something I truly believed in. And I believe that's the only way people could hear me at the time. I wasn't being heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's a lot of what continues to go on. People aren't being heard, and there comes a times when you're just like, you've had enough. So it's just all of, I think, when you decide that you've had enough and when you decide you're going to do something about it. I like to use that analogy. My mama said, well, you'll get tired, because I think I was in a relationship. It was a long, long time ago. But my mama said, you'll get tired of that bad relationship. She said, you'll keep going back. But then one day something will happen and you'll just be like, that's it. That's the final straw, and you'll leave. Same thing with fighting for liberation.
There is a quote, I was trying to find it. There was a quote that says that a riot is the language of the unheard, or something like that. And I thought about that when you were saying, I felt like I wasn't being heard. Let's talk about that a moment, going back to 2020 when all of this violence against Black bodies was being televised, and it was on a loop, which really is not, I don't think it's healthy for it to be on a loop, for us to watch it on a loop. I do think that we need to know, we need to see, but I don't think it should be on a loop. And I think that works to desensitize too, because it's like you just see it over and over until it no longer matters. But then you raised up and you said you were going to do these protests, and you show up at the Capitol, you're doing these protests, and you end up getting arrested, and you go to jail.
Right.
And you go to jail on some bogus charges, some trumped up charges. And then you are in jail, and then it's a whole lot of shenanigans around you once you get in jail. And now, like, I think some of us, because I think at first I was focused on, oh my goodness, she's in jail. I don't think we stop and say, I think it was something I don't know if it was something you posted or somebody else posted about you. I can't remember. But I remember at that moment, I was like, wait a minute. But she's away from her children, right? Like, we're like, oh my goodness, she's in jail. Like, just kind of focusing on your body being in this cell. but not thinking about what all that means to the rest of your life. For you to be in jail, and now you got a whole system over here that is having to function without you because you dared to stand up for, to fight for your life in this country.
Right.
And I love the way you said, now you go to the military and they want to give you an honor. You're Black and they want to criminalize you. And I think that that serves as another way to silence us. That's what I think it is. We're going to call you a criminal so people won't do it. And then if you won't do it, you'll be quiet and just go on and be who we are asking you to be, which is inferior to us. And so can you talk a little bit about just helping us see the bigger picture? Like, yeah, I'm willing to put my body on the line and go to jail, but understand what that means for me. What happens to me when I do that?
And first, I just want to start by saying, because it was interesting, you brought up some of those points. But when I was being sentenced, my lawyers mentioned that it was like, she's more patriotic and American than anyone here because she's willing to sacrifice and do what she needs to do to protect the First Amendment right. So it was interesting to me to hear that, because I was like, wait, what? And then I thought about it and I'm like, yeah, I am. I'm more American. But yeah, I think a lot of people don't consider that, because like I said, they see one image of what goes on, who I am as an organizer and an activist, and they forget like that I'm tied to community, that I have family, that I have a daughter, and a sister and a mother. It's just all those things. And I know, like, during my time of incarceration, like, I did have some community supports, but my family definitely felt it the hardest. That was almost 2 years. I really didn't know anything about my child's life. I was trying to talk to her through a phone, trying to discipline her through a phone. And, like, one time it really hit me because I was talking to her on the phone and she had done something. And, she goes, like, what are you going to do? Whoop me? You can't whoop me here and there. And so, like, at that moment, I think, I was like, oh my God, she's right. I can't do anything if I wanted to. So I think in that moment, I stayed real down about that for a long time. And it's hard to keep your mental in there. So it's just, I know my sister was like depressed when I was away, because my sister is like my best friend. I know my mom was like, it's time, so I'm not sleeping. So you think about all that, and it's just, you're giving up more than your body sometimes. People don't realize that. You say, even it's a big step to put your body on the line, fine. People say, oh, well, do with me what you will. But then when your body is attached to community and family, you not only suffer, they suffer. They might not suffer in the same exact way as you, but they suffer and they pay too.
I know I have incarcerated friends and lovers, and talk about how everybody does the time. It's not just them doing the time. Everybody does the time. And I think it's really important for you to say about it's even more than your body. Yes, it's your body. It's even more than your body. And I wanted you to talk about that because because I really wanted you to have this conversation with us, because I am asking folks to consider putting their bodies on the line. And so they have to know what that means. It's more than just saying I'm willing to go to jail. It's saying I'm willing to be separated from my family. I'm willing to experience fractures in my relationships with my children, with my siblings, with my parents, because that's going to happen when I'm away. And then you were away for 2 years. Like, that's a long time. And so imagine people that are away for 30 and 40 years, but you're there for 2 years. And this, it could wreak havoc on a relationship. You got to come back out, and it's almost like you got to start over, rebuilding this and nurturing this and maintaining this and trying to get it back to where it needs to be so that you can move forward with it. So it's a lot that we're asking people to do. And still, I'm saying we need to do it. And still, I'm saying we need to do it. We need to be willing to put our body on the line. Let me get this comment in from Phyllis Brown. She says, Donald Trump and legislators said the insurrectionists, the January 6th insurrectionists, are patriots. Yet Black people are described as violent. Now, Donald Trump said, and the legislators, that the insurrectionists, the people that were trying to overthrow the government, that those are the patriots. Yet Black people are described as violent when we dare to raise up. And just that word, I just had this experience not too long ago. I walked into a room, it's one-on-one, face-to-face discovery meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And the first question that I was asked is, well, what do you do? The question threw me off for a minute because I was there as a representative of Just Communities of Arkansas. So like, if I'm here as a representative of JCA, I'm thinking that you already know, what we do, because that's why I'm here. So then when I was asked, what do? I thought it was a personal question. Like, oh yes, I know you're here for this, but I want to get to know you. I'm like, okay. I said, I'm an activist. That's what I said. And she said, wait, what? You an activist? Oh, so wait a minute. We need to get something straight. So what you saying? So wait, whoa. So was you down at the Capitol? Like, are you one of them? I was like, wait, what the hell? What's happening right now? So the word activist itself, and I said this to her as we carried on. I was like, you're biased just on the word.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hear activist, you automatically think terrorist, criminal. I'm gonna stop the street, block the. And I'm like, there are so many ways that you can activate, right? So many ways. And I feel like we have to have people in all of those lanes, right? And so I was just like, oh, okay. But I was glad we had the conversation because it was important for me to know, because sometimes you have to look at folks and say, I can't build with you. I can't organize with you. I can't work with you. I can't, we're not going to get anything done because we are already too far apart. And that is okay too, to be able to recognize it and say, okay, you're not my tribe. And that's all right.
Right.
Here's Phyllis Brown. I will never forgive America for what they did to us and our families. I will never forgive America for what they did to us and our families. I don't want to speak for Phyllis, but it sounds like when she says us, she might be talking about Black people, people of African ancestry, members of the African diaspora. But when I think about her sister, Minnie Jean Brown, what we see, I thought about this when you were talking about being incarcerated. We see what the story is that they tell us, okay, that they were the Little Rock Nine, they were spit on, they were isolated, they were humiliated, they tried to humiliate them, and they were treated all kinds of ways. So we talk about all that, we see that in the movies. But when I went to see her, Minnie Jean's daughter's play that they had down here in Argenta, then you get to see what's happening in the family. You get to see what the daddy and mama are talking about, and how they are shielding the other children from the ugliness that's coming into their home through the phone, and how he's sitting up with a rifle. You get to see the more human side of it, the all of the shock waves of what's happening to people who are on the front line. And it's important for us to talk about the fact that you said it's hard to keep your mental. It's hard to be in a relationship with your daughter. It's hard for you to be without your sister. My sister was depressed. My mama was missing me. My collective, my tribe was feeling my absence. Like, we need to hear that part, because a lot of times that gets glossed over. We don't focus on that. We just want to say, oh, look, this body was mangled in the street. Oh, look, this body was killed in the street. Oh, look, Michael Brown's blood was running for 4 hours. But what about his mama standing there watching it? We don't talk about that part. And that's the part I think that we need to talk about. Oh, yes, Phyllis Brown did say she was talking about us, the collective us. I will never forgive America for what they did to the collective of us, all members of the African diaspora. I was thinking about this as you were talking. We're doing this Women's History Month. And I said to you, I was asking you what time were you going to be here, because I wanted you to be escorted up the stairs. Right? I was like, I'm gonna make sure you have an escort when you get here. Right? And so Tony has been, the co-host, Tony has been the escort for the guests, bringing them up the stairs. And he is usually in this seat. I asked him not to join us for these conversations, because I really wanted to center the voices of women. Since we say this is Women's History, I really wanted to center the voices of women. And a lot of times I feel like men have the tendency to mansplain things. So I'm like, I don't want that in this space. And so I reached out to him and I was like, would you consider letting us have this space? He did not bat an eye. Absolutely. Makes perfect sense to me. Go ahead. What can I do? How can I help? I'm like, can you be on the lookout for my guests? Can you bring them up the stairs? He was like, absolutely. And I brought that up because when we talk about this movement, this activist movement, when we talk about this Black liberation movement, there are some of us within the movement who have different privileges at different times.
Mm-hmm.
To be a man in America is a privilege. Even if you are a Black man, the way this world is, it still privileges you over women.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you, because think about the Black church. In the Black church, you want to make sure that the man is going to be in the leadership positions. We still have Black churches that say Black women can't preach, right? So
yeah.
we still have this hierarchy, even within the Black collective, that we have internalized from the system of sexism.
Mm-hmm.
And so to be a man, you have a privilege. So he could have said, wait a minute, I'm president of the station, I'm the co-host, that's my seat, I'm coming to talk because I can, right? It's my right.
Right.
He could have demanded that. And I'm not sure it would have gone well because of who I am, but
Mm-hmm.
he could have demanded that, but
Mm-hmm.
he did not. And so I think that it is important for us to recognize when we do have these privileges so that we can say, hey, let me use my privilege so that I can further the cause, so that I can further the movement. And so first you got to recognize your privilege, right? And then second, you got to figure out where can I exercise it? So for those of us who are on the outside while you are incarcerated, we have to say, okay, it's a privilege for me to be on the outside,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what can I do on the outside to further the cause that you're fighting for on the inside? Virgil Miller talks a lot about we need Malcolms and Martins. So we need people that are like out here, making a whole bunch of noise, not making a whole bunch of noise. I don't mean it like the way it sounded. When I mean making a lot of noise, like we are out, boots on the ground, drawing attention, bringing people into the conversation, making sure people know, raising our voices, amplifying our voices, letting people hear what we have to say, what the fight is about, educating, informing, enlightening. That's what I mean by making noise. I don't mean just talking crazy, just making noise. And then you need the people, the Malcolms that are at the tables in a different lane in this fight to make sure that they're pushing that, whatever you're talking about, that they're pushing it forward in this arena. And I've said to him on more than one occasion, I agree with you. We need everybody in the fight, in your lane, doing the work. My problem is, I feel like I can't always trust you, Malcolms. I'm not sure I know what y'all are saying at the table. You got the privilege of being at the table, but what are you doing at the table, right? And so we have to have these conversations. Yes, everybody needs to get on board and do your part. But if you at the table and you're exercising your privilege in a way that furthers you, then you're of no help. You're not helping us. Mm-hmm. Recognize that you have privilege and then figure out how you can use that privilege to move us forward, to push us forward, to knock down the doors, to dismantle the systems, to divest from the complicity. Like, that's what we need to do. And I'm not sure people know, first of all, do Black people even know they have privilege? Some of us do.
I think some people do, but just for reference, are you talking about Virgil Miller, new city director?
Walmart city director.
Yeah, took Dear Irma's spot. Yeah, I've met him on a couple occasions. I just saw him recently when I went to go speak before City Hall again. It was interesting trying to fill this new board out. And that's what I'm saying, like positions. Like when you speak of positions, you're on the board, you have the power. You have the power to bring upon new ordinances. You have the power to vote no when it comes to giving the police all this money and no money to community programs, so they have, even on that level, they have a lot of power. And so he has privilege, they say there is no one who does it better than Black people. We have everything we need. And if people realize our privilege, I'm gonna take it back to the white gays. If we realize the privilege we had, we wouldn't even be worried about the white gays, because we have everything we need to be self-sustaining, to be on our own, to operate in our own systems. We have, but it's such that we're just caught up so in the capitalist way of doing things that we keep falling behind. But we have privilege. Like you said, and the people in the church, the pastors have more privilege than members of the congregation. The politicians are coming to the pastors because they know how many people the church's reach. And so just one, flick of a pen, sometimes we're getting pastors advocating for politicians, aren't any good. Being a man, just in the struggle. I am not a man, but I'll tell you what I see. I had to do a lot of forgiving of Black men after 2020 because I felt like they weren't really supportive. Of course I had people, but when we got into that altercation at the Capitol with a bunch of white men, it was two brothers there. And they stepped in, and we were literally in a physical altercation. But they say, and from my community, I was like, why weren't you there? What were you doing? What were you doing out there by yourself? You should have waited on men to be present. It was in the heat of the moment. We were just going through things. I think that's me. We were in the heat of the moment. And so a lot of times I felt like even in our community that I couldn't lead. It wasn't okay for me to lead because I was a woman, and no man was going to follow things I say, even though I was right. It's almost like you have to say, okay, well, am I willing to sit in the background in silence, even though I know I have good ideals to advance us forward, just so a man can be the one who leads it. So that's what I said when you mentioned Brother Tony. That's how Osiris and Ryan and Omabi, because we're all on the board, all on this organization together. That's how they handle me. That's how they say, okay, well, we give you room to lead. Osiris will be like, what's up, boss? And I hate when he does it. But it's just like him really acknowledging what I bring. He knows my value. He uplifts me and treats me with respect. And he doesn't mind having a woman say this. And when he's in the lead, I don't mind being led because he's given me that grace and that space. So, just it's a lot of privilege roles within the movement.
I think it's 10:01 because your girl Lola's in the house.
No, she was creeping up on us.
I think that many people, and we're talking specifically about women, whoever identifies as a woman, I think that many of us would say, I have no problem being led if you're gonna lead.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the men who know better will say, I don't have a problem being led by a woman. We have got to get to the point that we are developing those kinds of relationships where we trust each other, we honor each other, we celebrate each other, we acknowledge the gifts that we bring. Because really, if we're going to be in true relationship, it's always a vacillation, right? One time is you in front, one time is me, one time is you on the left, one time it's like a dance we should be doing. And until we are ready to embrace that, well, then we can't be as free as we ought to be. We got to get out of here again. Your girl Lola's here. Dawn, do you have any last words for us? I'm so glad you were here. Put your body on the line.
Yes, I wish we had more time. Get out there. Do not live in fear. Continue to organize. Get activated. Love yourself. Love others, and as always, power to the people.
Power to the people. Thank you so much for joining us for the work for Community Voices. You have been live right here, KBF 88.3 FM. Do not touch that dial. You got 2 hours of jazz coming, bringing you even closer to liberation, helping you learn how to put your body on the line because you're loving it, because you feel good about it. And so that's what you are here. You are in store for right now. We're going to end with Aretha Franklin this time with Ain't No Way, because ain't no way we're going to be free if we don't put our bodies on the line. And we can't put our bodies on the line until we stop worrying about how white folks see us. Y'all, we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Enjoyed it. Yes, indeed.